Hey everyone, before we start this podcast, I just wanted to give a shout out to Haven Cottage Investments. You know, Haven Cottage is a magical place where people, young and old, can get ahead with their life. Honestly, if you aren't thinking property or other large investments, I don't know what you're doing with your life. I mean, that was a joke, but I don't know what I'm doing with my life either. Well, that's not true. I know I should be investing with Haven Cottage. Like, seriously, it'd be a good idea to get in touch with them. You know, see if that's right for you. You can get in contact with the Haven Cottage via phone or email, and the information in the description below. And without further ado, here's the show. One more podcast.
Apparently.
What do you mean, Thomas? It was John.
I think so.
John.
Yeah, it was John, dude.
Oh yeah, Thomas.
Thomas wasn't in any of our English classes.
Oh yeah, it was John freshman year.
Yeah.
All I have in my mind is a tall enigma. So it's between Thomas and John. It's basically.
That's true.
I don't know if I was in that English class with you guys.
I don't
So I've had her
think you were.
twice. I had her
If you
freshman
had
year
it twice,
and
you
again
had to
senior
be in that class.
Julian, you need to talk
Freshman
closer to the mic. I want you to make love to this mic or try and scooch it.
Make
It's
love
kinda-
in the
There you go. There you go.
Probably do that.
There you go. Oh,
Hopefully that works.
Closer. Because you have kind of have this. I'm not trying to make fun of you, but you kind of talk like this a little bit, and so it's a
Yeah,
little lower
yeah.
frequency, and so you either need to be louder or closer.
Mhm.
So
But Joe Rogan doesn't have these problems.
no, he doesn't, because he has fucking $400 microphones that.
Wait,
literally-
Joe Rogan?
Yeah, Joe Rogan Experience.
Sure.
You've never heard of Joe Rogan,
No.
comedian?
No. I'm sure if you showed me a
UFC
picture.
UFC analyst.
Here, I'll look.
UFC.
Oh, okay.
He did Fear Factor for a little bit. Friends with.
I
Have
think
you
that's
seen his bit on that?
further
No, I
away.
haven't.
He was he was saying how he got asked to do the Fear Factor show, and he's like,
Yeah.
all right, these people think I'm a professional. Some girl's trying to swallow
this guy.
bull testicles, and he's like, you can do it. Looking at the camera like, keep going, don't think.
Yeah, but Tom Segura.
I got it now. I think I just looked at a picture
What
of him.
is his name? What is his name? Hold on. Ari Shafir, Joe Rogan, Tom Segura, and then one other guy that I don't remember his name. Anyways, welcome back to the One More Podcast. Today is a special episode because I have some special people with me, obviously. And we're doing things a little differently today. Instead of having just a traditional talking about whatever, shooting the shit. And actually, if we have time at the end, there's actually a segment that I want to cover, but we can either do that or not for later. But anyways, right now, what we're doing is we're talking and discussing and analyzing and going deep in meticulous conversation under the movie Usual Suspects. And Usual Suspects is a fantastic movie. I've seen it 7 times. Strike that, maybe 8 times. Blake has only seen it once because he's a loser. JW and Julian are my guests, as well as Blake. Blake's not really a guest. Blake's kind of
A regular.
I guess he's a regular, but he's kind of just
Usual.
he's here. He's
The guy at the bar they already know the drink for.
That's true. You're Norm. You're Norm from Cheers. So but that's okay.
What is that supposed to mean?
I don't know. You fat
Is that
and
oh,
get
okay.
the.
Oh, you just say that. Okay. Now I get it.
There
Okay.
you go. Now we're on the
I
same page.
understand. Okay.
But anyways, you guys want to introduce yourselves real quick? Well, before we get into it.
Sure. My name is JW.
Yeah.
I like long walks, maybe short walks on the beach.
Uh-huh.
Any walk, really.
Oh yeah.
It's more or less what you need to know.
There you go. And also, if you want to introduce yourself,
Yeah, I'm Julian, and I like to make stuff.
that's awesome. Like art and everything like that.
Yeah, art, music.
Yeah, I've
So
seen
it's
writing,
art, quote unquote.
stuff.
Yo, no, I've seen some of his paintings and stuff like that, and
No,
pictures
that wasn't
and
a
sketches.
shot
and
at
stuff.
him. It was like a joke about. I'm sure his art's great.
You've never seen his art before?
I think I've seen Cole's art.
Yeah,
I don't know if you do similar graphic design.
Yeah,
I guess.
Oh, okay. then
but I
dope.
would say Julian, because Julian, you've been doing it longer. Or you guys have been about the same.
I don't know when he started, but I've been doing it since I was 4 or something.
Yeah, I know Julian has been.
I just
time.
follow Cole on Twitter. So
Wow,
that's why I know. That's
He's your
how I see it.
He's your constituent, and you have no idea what he does for a living.
Whoa. Okay.
What kind of
Yeah.
Social
representative
media
are you?
following? It's tough.
Sounds
Dude,
like
it is.
sounds like a president.
Well, hold on, wait,
Too real.
real quick. I'm sorry. Now we're going to talk about you for a second. So, how many Twitter followers do you have? Do you have a Twitter?
Yeah,
Is
I
that
do.
a thing? So, did when you got elected, did you see a
No.
dramatic increase?
No.
Oh, okay.
Literally
You saw a
no one.
decrease.
No one added. I think if anybody,
Yeah,
they unfollowed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
yeah. UTD doesn't really care so much.
I mean,
Well, I mean, I don't
okay.
know. It's,
I
It's a
mean,
good place. I mean,
Yeah.
It's a
I
good
don't-
place.
It's not one of those things that if you become,
You're not gonna get
not
it.
carried
An
around on a
organization
platform
president,
like Xerxes
yeah.
or something.
Yeah, which is okay because I'm not really in it for that. So.
Sure, of course.
You don't have peasants fanning you with.
Nah, they're not.
Yo,
peasants.
is that what
I'm
happens
among
at
the
your
people?
Is that what happens at your meetings? You just like
No,
I
it's
mean,
not what happens at the meetings.
from 2 to 5, we're at a meeting, but realistically, I'm just gonna have people fan and feed me.
Maybe not.
That would be
Not
amazing.
exactly how it works.
Yo, that's all right. So, anyways, back to what we were originally going to talk about. Again, usual suspects. So, full warning ahead, spoilers. We're going to be talking full in depth about the movie. I mean, it came out in '95, so if you haven't seen the movie, unfortunately, I feel bad for you. I pity you, but that's okay. We're going to talk about it. And honestly, and I mentioned it to Blake previously on an unreleased podcast because it's coming out, I think, later in the week. For me, I think what makes a great movie is not necessarily the ending or the resolution of the movie. I think it's the story and the writing, and even if you know what the ending is, and even if you know what's going to happen, I think a great movie, you still want to watch it, and you rewatch it, and you watch it again. So, especially same thing with TV shows. So, people have watched series over and over again. They know what's going to happen, but they still watch it because it's really good. So, and I think that's what makes The Usual Suspects a fantastic movie. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 5 out of 5 stars because I just love it that much. Before we dive into it, do you want to give our star ratings? How we good? First impressions?
I
feel like 5 is too limiting, so I'm gonna go out of 10 stars. I'm gonna give it a 9.4.
Wow. Do you have any 10-star movies that you like?
Yeah, I'm kind of biased though.
Go ahead.
Saving Private Ryan, I think it's 10 out of 10.
Ooh.
That's
Ooh.
fair. That's fair.
Yeah, that's a little racy.
How's that racing?
I don't know. Go ahead.
Okay. I think Pulp Fiction is 10 out of 10.
Wow. Okay. So you'd put
yet
Pulp
to see
Fiction
that.
higher than Usual Suspects?
Is that bad?
I would.
I haven't
Okay.
seen
Just
it.
because
You haven't seen Pulp Fiction?
I have not.
Oh my gosh.
Next-
Well,
Yeah.
next
it's
week
like
we
it's
know
like
what we're
the
gonna watch.
movie. Yeah, that I need to see.
Well, I mean, all
That
the
was my
Quentin
next
Tarantino
plan. Yeah.
movies
Oh, that's
are
fair.
indie movies.
All 8 Quentin Tarantino
I don't
movies.
know.
I
There's
did
some
see the
movies.
others. But I think like out of his, I've only seen probably Pulp Fiction.
Oh, okay. Well,
Unless
that's
he did
okay.
something else.
That's good at least.
That's fair.
There's like the Eightful Eight.
The
The
Eightful Eight
Mine
was
is
the
the
eighth movie.
Eightful Eight.
I might have
He's only going to do 2 more. He's doing 10 movies, and that's it.
Oh, really?
Really?
His next movie, he said, is going to be about Charles Manson murders.
Wow. Okay.
Ooh.
I'm excited for that.
Oh, who's playing Charles Manson?
Charles
There
Manson.
All right.
It's going to be mostly voice recording.
Okay.
No, I have no idea. I didn't know that he was doing another movie.
He's going to do that one, and then he's going to do one more after that, and then he said he's done directing.
And then
Wow.
he's gonna get offered like $70 million to
do
do
something
another
else.
else.
Well, I don't know.
Cameos
He's
or something.
a
Avatar 3.
weird
Yeah,
dude.
right?
He's a weird dude, but he's a genius. So
Yeah, sure.
He's pretty dead set on doing 10 movies, and that's it.
All right. Until
So-
again, he gets offered $80 million, and he's gonna do like the B movie 2 or something.
He'll do
also
the next
think
Transformers
about
movie.
that he writes his own all of his
That's true.
movies.
Oh,
so
yeah.
if he doesn't want to direct a movie, he's not
He's
going
not
to
gonna
direct
do
it
it.
since
Do
he
it.
didn't write it.
Well, I feel like he's kind of the type of guy that'll he has his legacy and that's it, and he's not gonna
Right.
try and
That's-
He
He
doesn't
stomp
need
on his
to.
legacy.
It is
He
what
doesn't
it
need
is.
to.
Well,
I'd
you,
be
even,
focusing more on more personal work, like
Probably.
instead of having to do something that appeals to the masses, at least
Right.
to some degree.
Just private explosions.
Yeah.
Well, he said he wanted to bring some of his like backup scripts that he's just written
Uh-huh.
over the years over to Broadway.
Ooh.
oh, okay.
Oh.
He wants to,
Okay.
like be a
Yeah.
That'd be
a
cool.
playwright.
Like
Retire
to
as
be
a
able to,
playwright?
like to be able to say
Yeah.
I retired Broadway.
That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Exciting.
So I feel like for a lot of artists, that is kind of their dream to like, because if to be able to like get some form of success, you have to kind of put away a lot of what you want to do
Mhm.
in favor of what other people kind of want.
That's true.
But once you've got like a large following like that, you kind of have enough backing to where you can just kind of ride that out while you just make your own content.
And then if it's all shit, it's still okay because he's got millions
Yeah,
of dollars.
exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
So, and then we'll go on. JW, what's your star rating or
I'm gonna-
whatever rating?
I'm gonna go
you
with
give it?
Blake. That I don't think a 5 is enough
Okay.
rating.
All right.
I'm gonna push it down a little bit to about an 8
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so then what's your 10 out of 10 movie? Just to let's
Ooh,
everyone
that's
give
to
perspective.
get like a metric.
yeah.
I think
What
it
do you
really.
consider a good movie?
I don't really think I've ever seen a pure 10 out of 10 movie that just
All
blows
right.
my mind in every way.
Sure.
I think some of my
So
favorite
what's the closest? Then?
some of my favorite movies. I think The King's Speech was really well
Mhm.
done. It was really, really
Awesome
well
movie.
done.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's a historic movie, so historic movies are hit or miss. But I think it was
All right.
it was incredible.
All right.
Did you ever see that, Yuval?
Yes, I fell asleep during it.
Fair. I also think I kind of desensitized myself to the movies that are a little older,
Mm-hmm.
just because nowadays you don't see like the longer scenes where there's no dialogue, or you don't see the whole time lapse of things where people are traveling.
Yeah.
It's mostly just them instantly there. Like if you watch the old Bond movies, it'll be minutes of them just running around beaches and in cars, just normal things, no part of the plot.
Yeah.
It's just there. So, I mean, I guess King's Speech, other than that, there are movies that are good, but then they also have bad parts to them, and it's a whole thing.
So then, okay, we didn't do this with Blake because I don't give a shit, but if you were only allowed to watch one movie for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Ooh, one movie. Goodness.
Come on, man.
I would have to say, this is going to be weird, and I'm not rating it high because it's one of those movies, but I would definitely watch The Other Guys for the rest of my life.
Wow, okay.
The Other Guys is a little different from King's Speech, but
sure.
It's got that kind of humor.
No, it's just a little bit. It's a tiny bit different.
It's just a tad bit different.
All right.
Okay.
No, that's true.
It's not a 10 out of 10, but
no, it's all good. No, I could appreciate that. Yeah. So, Julian, what about you? What's your overall rating?
I don't usually do ratings for movies because there's so many different factors between them. It's
true.
It's I feel like it's too heavily extracted to be able to give a very objective opinion.
Sure.
Of it.
But pull it out of your butt. What's your rating?
I mean, I thought it was pretty good, but I wouldn't say it was the best movie I've ever seen.
So 7 out of 10.
But it's more of that it's not really my particular type of genre, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Or,
so what kind of genre are you generally into?
I honestly don't know. It's it depends on just the film for me. I don't.
Okay.
That also plays.
So what
a part.
are some of your favorite couple movies that you could just watch over and over again?
I don't really like rewatching movies.
Oh, okay.
That's also fair.
Sure.
I mean, there's a couple that I might watch twice at the most, particularly if they're playing with chronology a lot, because it's a different experience to sec them over.
That's very true.
But it's I might watch this a refresher sometime later if I need to for some other objective reason. But it's I've already seen the thing, I already know what happens, and that was the whole big arc of the whole thing. A lot of dramatic tension. Often in these cases depends on the fact that you haven't seen it before.
Sure.
That's true.
Okay, well,
plot twists don't really have the same effect the second time around.
That's true.
Well,
for any movie.
I feel because after I watched this movie, I kept looking.
Yeah,
back at the newspaper clippings.
Exactly.
I
was trying to look for it as well
to see what was going on.
I knew what was going to happen, but I wanted to see if I could pick up on every little thing.
Yeah, because I think that's and we'll jump into the usual suspects right now. So. Spoiler alert for everybody again, Kevin Spacey is Kaiser Soze. Unfortunately for Blake and I, we didn't get that until the end of the movie, whereas these geniuses called it a mile away.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been revisited a lot of times, especially in more modern film.
Oh, okay.
We're the guy who's...
It's kind of a cinematic...
The one who's so who's really overplayed as the least... the most unassuming character is makes you I wonder if he's the one who's actually behind it because of how it's set up, they're not meant to know that.
So I think going away from that specifically and referencing it into current movies, I think a lot of the cues that they had during the movie that kind of reinforced it wasn't Kevin Spacey. I think little nuances with the lighter and stuff like that. They emphasized the not being able to use a lighter.
Gold lighter.
The gold lighter. I think, him handling weapons and stuff like that. I think he performed very well as a cripple. Yeah. So I think they built that story.
Yeah, they did. They did a real good job building that.
Yeah. Go ahead and interrupt me if you have anything to interject. I'm totally for it. I get interrupted all the time because Blake knows that. Blake hates me enough to interrupt me all the time.
No.
I think there were a lot where there's some kind of the really extreme plot twist that is very obvious from the start. I think they were able to layer this in a way where, you can guess it. Obviously, anyone in the building can guess it. But when they build up that case file against, what is his name? Keaton, yeah.
Keaton.
Dean Keaton. I'm just going to point to people because I don't remember their names. I'm horrible with names. But anyways, when they were building up against Keaton, I think that finale, you can get, 50% of the audience will be like, oh shit, you're right. It was Keaton. That makes sense. That was
the first time I saw it.
That was a realization.
I didn't think it matched up really. Particularly with the, that's a question of if he was the shooter, who was the guy on the ground.
Right. And
that was just kind of what sticks in your head. You're putting all this stuff in, it just really starts building up. So I guess it's fairly convincing, but
no, and I get what you're trying to say there in terms of because there's a mix, because if you're reading a book, then they can just explain how it is, but with movies you have a lot of visual aspects, so you have to think half of the story they were lying. You know, Kevin Spacey was just lying, and so making it look like Dean Keaton was shooting the ground when whatever it is.
It was genius.
Yeah,
it was walking him towards Keaton.
Right, exactly, and I think because I think realistically, and we'll kind of finish up in this point specifically, and you guys can add on what you think. I think they did a really good job to make things realistic to a point where you see the plot twist and it's not just like total bullshit out of the air. Oh, what the heck? That didn't make any sense. Because like what Blake was saying before, picking up in the police office, you're looking at the board, looking at the newspaper clippings. If you notice when they're drinking their mugs, they kind of always tried to flip to the bottom. Sure, you weren't necessarily able to read that unless you like pause the movie, but they kind of placed these
signs were there.
The signs were well hidden
to communicate that he was just reading the guy behind him is like
exactly
just picking and choosing.
Exactly, and so I think that was really nice because again, going through, I was trying to look for those cues. It's like, okay, so where how is he looking? How's the camera positioned? Because I think that was another point. I think they did a really good job, kind of telling a story from their perspective. So you're definitely I felt engaged, and you were Kevin Spacey in this office, and you were trying to figure out what's going on with the different camera angles and stuff like that. So, any to the point of that specifically before we move on to the next top?
Yeah. So I feel like no movie points something out detail wise that isn't something that plays into the plot. That's masterfully working into a plot twist. So the idea of I can't hold a lighter and that dialogue happening, or the idea of not being able to hold a gun. All of those things aren't ever mentioned unless it's constructive to the plot. So at that point, it was, I think, pretty clear that something was different, just because usually they just have the audience assume that if he's someone that has like a disability. So at that point, they're like, all right, this guy can't do these things. So that's kind of when I started seeing him as
Kaiser Soze?
Kaiser Soze.
Kaiser Soze. Yeah.
And then whenever again, I guess this is kind of spoiler, but it's part of the plot that builds up to it. But spoiler, whenever he shoots the guy that they were getting dope from, or they thought that he had, diamond collection, ended up being dope. Whenever he shot him, that was kind of a confirmation for me. That he was him.
Okay,
that was because he
seemed very out of character. Out of the character he was portraying.
Because his plan was, if you remember in the dialogue, his plan was that if they did the jobs, they wouldn't kill people. So at that point, him killing that person, I thought was too out of character to really go unnoticed. So a combination of those things, I think, kind of confirmed it. Him staying back so long in his side of the story didn't make any sense in the context of everything else he had done.
Sure.
So I thought that it was kind of leading up to the plot twist at the end. I do agree, though, that they set up Keaton at the near the end to where the majority of the audience would be like, oh yeah, this guy definitely did it.
Yeah.
Like, case closed, and then the movie would just end.
Yeah.
So
I completely agree with that, and I actually didn't even think about that, going through this movie so many times. So real quick, we'll do a synopsis of the movie. So band of guys, armed robbery happens, and band of guys get called in. They're the quote-unquote usual suspects. They're just trying to get a lead or get a hint or trying to figure out who's going to do this armed robbery. From there, all of them get together to do a job, to make money. There are a few people who have different reasons for doing this, but then they all eventually do the job, get some jewelry, get some emeralds, go off to California, sell it to a guy. The guy who was selling or buying it from them offers them another job, and then from this they learn that the job was given by Kobayashi. His name is Kobayashi, and so he was this kind of middleman agent, and they learn of Kaiser Soze, and they're doing essentially one last job, $91 million potentially, and they don't know who Kaiser Soze is, but Kaiser Soze knows who they are.
Right. And Kaiser Soze put those five guys together specifically because those five guys fucked over Kaiser at some point along the line.
Yeah, they indirectly, without their knowledge, they fucked him. And so this was Kevin Spacey / Kaiser Soze's way of getting revenge / getting even / getting what he wants. So
and disappearing
completely. And so the whole story was told, or at least after the beginning of the story, it was told in the perspective of just a conversation between Kevin Spacey and the other detective. I forget his name. And so they're just doing flashbacks, as what Blake was mentioning before we were watching the movie, is pay attention to how they design the flashbacks and how it kind of connects and they intermingle it. So it's this conversation. And so by the end of it, whenever they get to the point where they kill this guy, Kevin Spacey post bail. And I thought it was kind of funny that at the beginning of the movie, they were like, look, he's about to post bail. He's only got 2 hours. And I was like, hey, that's as long as the movie is. So just, crappy synopsis over it. Just want to move on to the next point where we're talking about it.
Did you guys notice Verbal was the man with the plan the whole movie? They called him that 3 times.
Yeah.
Verbal was the man with the plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does verbal mean anything? Or I guess
pointing
they called him the man with the plan.
Yeah.
And it turns out he actually was. Because he was, he was Soze.
That's true.
Like a nice little hint.
So it's the most accurate name he was given.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So we kind of quickly brushed over it, but just to solidify a point. So in other movies, I don't really watch a lot of movies that have plot twists. And so I think I put this on a pedestal just because it's like, oh, wow, out of all the plot twists, this was a really well done plot twist. So have you guys seen many plot twist movies? Or...
Yeah.
Well, I think
I haven't seen that yet, but I've heard. Isn't the butterfly effect? Doesn't it also have a I heard there's a plot twist.
I haven't seen either
of them.
Lit the bag of puppies on fire.
Okay,
What?
so I didn't know that happened, but
I'm not watching that movie. Wow, that sounds horrible.
I think The Notebook also has a plot twist.
I guess in a sense.
The Notebook I wouldn't say it's necessarily a plot twist. It's just kind of like kind of that moment where
it's like a surprise, but doesn't necessarily, I guess, in a sense, twist.
Yeah,
so, like the 2 old people.
Those are the characters.
I know
those are characters.
So is that the surprise at the end?
Yeah.
Well,
one of them has like Alzheimer's or something, and he's retelling the story.
The woman has Alzheimer's.
Yeah, and he's retelling the story.
Well, it was apparently a surprise that made my last significant other pretty mad at me when I pointed it out 5 minutes in.
Wow.
The movie's about them, and she was not.
Dang.
She's not the most pleased person.
Oh, okay.
She's pretty reasonable, so I can't imagine that not being significant enough, apparently.
Sure. Okay. I don't know. The only other horror movie, or the only other plot twist was this horror movie, and I called it a mile away, and it was just like this stupid. This girl was killing people, but then it's like we don't know who it was, but this girl had dual personality, and that was it.
The Hole?
Maybe
no, not The Hole. It was with a British actress, right?
I think,
and they were in a bunker together.
I don't know if it was a bunker necessarily. There was a scene where she was in a kitchen, and then a demon thing grabbed her in the leg.
Oh. This is not the same movie.
I have no idea. I
forget.
I saw this in middle school or something.
I had a Tinder date go awry.
Oh, really?
Went down to their college. Went there, and she had a meeting the entire time I was there. So she was like, just watch this movie.
Wow.
I watched a movie, and it was about some like British teenagers that went and they found this military bunker and they accidentally got trapped. And then I think 3 of them died, or 2 of them died, and the last 2 came up. And it turns out that one of them had just killed all the others, or I can't remember the specific details, but it was a crazy plot twist.
Yeah.
And then she came back in after I watched the movie, and I was like, I think I'm gonna go. But
that was too intense for me.
But it was a good plot twist experience.
Sure.
Going forward, I did not expect it.
Well, that's good.
Like Fight Club.
Oh yeah, Fight Club was a really good.
Talk about.
Yo,
I haven't actually seen it.
It's a good.
Really, I think it's great. I think that was one of them. We watched it at John's house.
Yeah.
About 3 a.m.
Was it 3 a.m?
It was 2 or 3 a.m.
Wow.
It was you, myself,
and then John, and then
I want to say
his
Thomas
sister's
was there.
friends.
His sister's friends were there.
Yeah. We were all just watching.
Fun.
That was a good movie. Yeah, it was a good night.
Also, a smart idea to watch it late at night.
That's very true.
Because you're not super into it mentally.
Yeah, that's
and then
true.
it just kind of is like, what?
Yeah. Everything's a bigger shock for you.
Exactly.
Well, maybe we should have waited till like 2 a.m. to watch this movie, so you guys wouldn't have called it till like
that would have
the very end.
Would have been a good idea for future reference,
dude. Okay, so moving on, we're gonna talk about the actor chemistry. One thing I really love about this movie is just how well everyone jives together. And I mean, sure, for the most part, movies, actors work well together, and they have dialogue and give and take and blah blah blah. But I think specifically with this one, especially there was an overarching feeling of anger. And there was always I think in at least every scene someone was angry or got angry.
Yeah, they hated each other.
Well, exactly. And so, but I think that's what drove the movie to be so well, because they all had a common goal. They just wanted money. They wanted to set themselves up for life. and they just kind of had to manipulate, work together, / do whatever with these people. And I don't know. With most movies, I think anger is the hardest, but executed well, if executed well, makes the movie go a mile longer in terms of that dynamic on screen. So, with the yelling and the "oh, fuck you," they discover what's his face, the fucking Puerto Rican, Benicio del Toro. What is he not? He's not Puerto Rican. I don't know what he is.
Mexican.
I don't know.
In the movie?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know what he is supposed to be in the movie, but yeah, that guy when they discovered him on the beach, and the Russian guy was like super pissed about it, and they were just like, "Fuck you! He was my friend!" Blah 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 blah. Like, you saw this like,
he was born in Puerto Rico.
He was born. Boom.
Oh, there you go.
Got it.
Okay.
I don't know nothing or a lot. I don't know.
Roast Compollo is
about know nothing.
There you go.
I know
nothing
one?
about nothing. What?
Which one's the Russian one?
What's his name? I forget his name. That guy.
Baldwin?
Oh.
Is that Stephen Baldwin?
Oh, that's Stephen Baldwin.
I thought he was supposed to be a Russian.
Really? I thought they were all...
Is Stephen Baldwin related to Michael Baldwin?
He's Alec Baldwin's
He's Alex
brother.
Baldwin's brother.
What about Michael Baldwin? Is that not someone?
Probably the third brother.
Probably, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, Steve. Wow, so, okay.
I don't know.
All right, that's
all I
cool.
know is Alec and Stephen, for sure.
I don't know any of the actors except for Kevin Spacey. That's how shitty of a person I am.
Ooh.
But,
you don't know Kevin Pollak, for real?
No, I don't.
I honestly didn't recognize him.
He was in a lot of 90s movies.
Kevin
I
Pollak.
recognized him after I looked it up. But...
Okay, this Kevin Pollak, sorry, excuse me, I apologize. I didn't catch it until watching it this movie. He was the guy who initially robbed that truck.
Took the truck.
Yeah. And they were just like, he was like, "Fuck you, pigs! You ain't got no legs to stand on." And I was just like, oh, "Okay, yeah, there's all fucking just stupid charges." But then he was like the actual guy who did it.
Yeah, they're all like, "Dude,"
and he takes it like a man too.
Yeah,
whenever he gets called out, he's like, "I got you."
Yeah,
you thought.
Yeah. But yeah, so I thought that on screen, and there was also a few moments, and I'm sure Blake, you knew, in the interrogation room, that laughter and stuff like that, that was unscripted.
Right.
That was
really
when they're in the lineup and they just start laughing.
Yeah, they start laughing.
Really?
I forget who it was, but one of the actors just kept farting the whole entire time, and the director got so pissed at them, started yelling at them, getting angry, made them laugh even more. And this whole scene was just
recorded it.
Yeah, exactly. This whole scene was just impromptu, just whatever. And I think it was one of this scenes.
That's direct awareness right there.
Exactly. Yeah. And I love it when movies do that.
The happy accident.
Exactly. Just for example, the only other thing that is kind of bouncing in my head is the scene in Guardians of the Galaxy when what is his name? What's his
spoiler alert?
Which one?
The redheaded guy who's in Jurassic World. I forget his name.
Chris Pine?
Chris Pine. No,
Chris
Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
Well, but
it's like four of them.
So when Chris Pratt, I think it was at the beginning of the movie when he got, they were like, "This orb is super important and powerful, whatever," and then they tossed it. He dropped. Yeah. That was an accident. He legitimately dropped it on accident. And it was just kind of like, oh, that's really funny. It's like kind of expresses his character dynamic and how he's goofy, but whatever. So
like in the Dark Knight when the
building
is supposed to explode and it doesn't.
Yes.
Heath Ledger just
that honestly, I think is one of my favorite just improvised moments.
I need to rewatch that.
Oh yeah, the Dark Knight is really
anybody ever see Django Unchained?
Yes.
Django Unchained also. Yeah. Leonardo
You mean
DiCaprio.
the Django?
When DiCaprio slams his fist
on
the table.
That's
and
true.
The glass.
Slid his hand open.
Yeah.
And then he
kept rolling with it.
Yep. And then he rubbed the blood all over that lady's face.
And he still didn't win an award. He literally had to go out, prepare himself in a forest alone for a role.
For an Oscar.
Just to get an Oscar.
He got pneummonia twice.
Exactly.
Ate a real buffalo heart.
What did you do on your weekend?
But yeah, so I think it really comes alive. And again, I mean, for the most part, continuing on, we're just at least me. I mean, you guys can be critical about it. I'm going to be praising this movie a lot. I think it's definitely and Blake, when we talked about it on maybe like the first or second time we were on the podcast, where I told you about my theory about, or like technically my friend's theory that I agree with about movies pre like 2007. You remember what I was talking about from there?
They're shit.
Well, not necessarily shit. So just as a refresher, real quick.
I remember what you said.
Okay, well, for these guys
Sure.
as well as new listeners, so my friend's theory, which I wholeheartedly agree with, is the fact that post 2006, 2007, the years you can kind of argue amongst yourselves, there is a shift in the movie industry where global movies started to become more and more popular because you can see
It's more money.
Well, more money. That's very true. probably 2010 onward, you saw a lot, like a boom in action movies, action, drama, suspense, kind of like very minimal dialogue. It's all about the car scenes and exactly. And so because you have to appeal to an audience, because, movies like The Usual Suspects and, Good Will Hunting, I always use that as a prime example. The lineup scene where he's like, hand me your key, motherfucker, just random bullshit. Some guy in, Taiwan is not going to necessarily understand why that's funny. He's not going to necessarily get the nuances of
language barrier.
Exactly. The language barrier and
the translation probably wasn't nearly as good.
Of course. And so
they have to get 5 characters.
Oh
gosh.
So it's
like, why chicken sucker? Why is that? What does that mean? What's funny about sucking chickens? Some weird American culture.
It's like a weird way to suck eggs.
But yeah, and so I think those movies I think are prime examples of kind of a lot more went into the dialogue and kind of the characters, the back and forth between the characters, because it's a lot easier when you're using the English language. I mean, I don't know if this is just my ignorance, but I think it's a lot easier when you're using the English language when you're an English writer to establish characters and, again, like those nuances and the relationships and the reactions that all the actors are going to have to each other. I think it's well written. There's a lot. I think there's a lot of room to improve, and there's a lot of room for the kind of off the cuff and impromptu scenes. But in Avengers, really, like, how many lines do you think were like ad libbed? Like, I don't think.
If anything, it's Robert Downey Jr.
Probably. Exactly.
Doing a couple.
Yeah. And because it's like the ad lib might not go over well, and you're focusing on this action adventure movie, easily translatable. So
true.
So I think it really shows in kind of the 90s to early 2000s. I think that's the prime time of movies. Granted, pre 90s and stuff, there were great movies. From the black and white all the way to present. I think there have been really great movies, but I think for me, and correct me if you guys disagree, but I think that's prime time for movies. Is I think from because The Departed, other movies, The Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction was when, like 94. Yeah. So you have these really great movies, but it's more dialogue intense, and the stories were, and I would say probably the stories were a little more original, and they weren't trying to do reboots or remakes or sequels or whatever it is. And so you had IPs that had to come out that were new. But I don't know, you guys agree, disagree?
I think go ahead.
Yeah, I think I might agree, like, because particularly with where that era was placed, because you have like everything that they've learned from like the decades of the music industry up until the point where they like mentioned, like, since they've been kind of almost dumbing things down, almost in a sense.
Yeah.
To more easily appeal to the masses.
80s was definitely dumbed down.
Yeah.
And you saw that in just popular culture in general.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at music, for example, you had 60s, which was back to the roots, experimental kind of music. 70s was all about using what you learned in the 60s and bringing it full force. And then the 80s was all about, okay, we had all this great stuff. Now let's just revamp it and make it as over the top as possible. And then at some point in the early 90s, you saw music kind of shift into going back to what made, going back to basic music. And like you saw in the Seattle grunge era. It was very basic. Some of the melodies were really complex, but other than that, it was getting back down to basic rock and roll. And you kind of saw that with movies too. I am a big hater on 80s movies.
Why?
And because no one can give me a clear answer on why 80s movies are good.
I can't think of any 80s movies right now.
So
wasn't like Predator 80s movie?
Sure. Lethal Weapon, any of the
Hidden Gun. What is it with
the Naked Gun?
The Naked Gun.
Yeah.
What do you have? 16
Candles.
Breakfast Club, Top Gun.
Oh wow.
Weird Science. I think if you step back out of, like, when you watch those movies, you say, "Oh, this is an '80s movie. It's supposed to be this, and this."
Yeah,
you kind of like,
but it's not good. Like, it's just, I look at them like, if you just step back and really look at great movies, there were only a handful that were made in the '80s because it was.
It's like you have to put like a handicap on it. It's like, oh, this is '80s. So all this weird dumb shit.
That's why we like them, because it's '80s. Why
I also wonder I wonder if the political climate of the world had anything to do with
it probably always does.
The industry of the 80s.
That's true.
Because remember the Cold War period?
That's true. You think
that
has a negative impact?
It was America was at its peak in the 80s, right? So we were trying all high and mighty when Reagan came in, and Reagan was going to take down the Soviet Union. So we kind of got cocky and as Americans. And
real quick, Americans. Reagan was in movies. Was he in any good movies? I've never seen a Reagan
just in
movie.
Old westerns.
Oh, that was it.
Makes sense.
So it's just kind of like they're not good. They're not bad.
He was the first famous person to become president.
Sure.
Or I would say actually John F. Kennedy was, but and then came
John F. Kennedy was a sexy man.
Famous, I guess you would say.
Right, but who?
Like pop culture famous, I guess.
Right.
Because
and then Ronald Reagan was the first one that everyone was like, "Oh yeah, Reagan."
Oh, okay.
And that helped him a lot because he was Reagan.
He
saw movies about him.
Hot, sexy man.
No, he was old, but whatever.
I mean, back in the day, he was a hot, sexy man.
Sure.
He
was doing movies.
That's true.
But he was the oldest president ever elected, so.
Okay. Back to
movies.
Back to Usual Suspects. Okay, so one thing, if you guys paid attention to it all or not, it's all right. Is the pacing of the movie. I think specifically going from the scenes to I guess technically in the past when they were trying to do each job, back to the actual interrogation scene, or I guess whatever, conversation scene would more be an appropriate word. But the conversation, I think, for me, it's hard for movies where you're trying to think, all right, we have all the good meat of the movie of what we need to talk about, but then obviously if there's side characters or side stories, or even relating it to TV shows, sometimes I think it can be hit or miss where they have a really good plot line going on, and I'm like, okay, I want more of this. I don't really give a shit about the other plot.
Branch off,
but yeah, exactly.
They did a good job of making both feel like relevant. Right.
So with this movie, I think they did a really excellent job pushing kind of the relevance of both scenes and making it so that, okay, this chunk of events just happened, so we just killed the jeweler and we're moving on to this next scene. Okay, now we're gonna go back to the cops because there's a new development within the cops, and I thought that was well executed. If you guys agree or don't,
yeah. Well, everything had to connect. So whenever they would go back to the black cop and trying to translate for the Hungarian burn victim or whatever, all of that was it all met up into one 10-second little clip at the very end of the movie. And so it would have been a disaster if it had been in any other different order, different sequence of events. It just wouldn't have made sense. It had to be exactly the way it was in the script.
And I think what really helped tie together was like it wasn't just like, even though we had the past being a retelling, giving more information to people in the future setting. There were also sections where the future setting was giving more information for the past retelling.
That's
like
true.
It would introduce new facts that will become relevant in the course of the story.
That's true. That's very true. And I thought it was a good give and take because I saw it for both, where you learn stuff about the past. Okay, now Kevin Spacey is going to tell the cop or the detective, and now we're going to see how the detective reacts or says or what he says, and then the detective will say something to Kevin Spacey, like he walks into the room. Who's Kaiser Sose? And
fuck.
Fuck. Fuck. So I thought it was a really good pacing. Again, we're gonna compare it. Blake, I'm sure you'll be able to give a lot more insight to this. The Tarantino movies, I think his choice of what to show for it, like Pulp Fiction, was like, wasn't it told like technically backwards?
Kind of. It was all over the place.
It was all over the place.
Yeah. So
one section was here, one section was there, one section was there.
Yeah, but
and by the end of the movie, you can piece all of the sections together.
And so they're all rearranged in that specific order to be able to get the most like dramatic tension.
Right. Okay.
Because I don't think it would have been a very good movie. It wouldn't have
like,
been a very good movie
you can find
the way the actual sequence did.
Yeah, you can find like where people have re-edited all the scenes in order. And it's interesting if you've seen it before, but it's like definitely a lot less interesting.
Wow. Okay. So he kind of was able to weave the highlights together where kind of makes sense, where he's going to keep you suspenseful, so the next scene you have to stay suspenseful and then do the drop down scenes and back and forth from there.
The entire thing's a fantastic example of dramatic irony. Okay. It's like, and like as a main story, it was relatively mundane in a sense, but like with how by playing with what information the audience knows at what time, you could really build up a lot of tension and suspense.
There really is no storyline in Pulp Fiction. That's what you got to realize going in. Yeah.
Sure.
You have to take each scene in each section for what it is. Okay. And then at the end, you put everything together.
And you're like, well, damn.
Oh, that's how it happened.
So just I think with The Usual Suspects as well, there are a lot of things where if you do rewatch it, and I know, Julian, you said you don't necessarily like to rewatch movies, I think this is one of the movies where you can pick up what you were missing or something.
Yeah. Like it's like Pulp Fiction is a movie I might be rewatching. It's like the ones where because when the chronology is like you have to play with chronology a lot. Like when you see it the second time, there's still something new to it.
Exactly,
because it wasn't just plain linear time.
Or have you seen the movie Memento?
No,
I don't think so.
No, it's one of Christopher Nolan's first films.
Ooh. You mean American Psycho?
No.
I need to see that too.
No, Memento is about this guy who...
Wait, American... Oh, that's Christian Bale, sorry.
Right. Memento is about this guy who his wife was killed, and then the person that killed him broke into their house and hit him on the head, and he has short-term memory loss.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has to tattoo all of the clues onto his body to try to and keep remembering, hey, I've got to find my wife, I'm married, I have to... And so, and the whole movie is just in such weird order because the only information you know is what you're given by this guy with short-term memory loss.
Wow. Okay.
Have you seen the Liam Neeson movie with his memory loss?
Mm-mm.
So I don't know the name, and I also don't want to spoil it, but I definitely think that it's worth watching. I think it's like a plot twist that you don't anticipate because they don't really give a lot of hints to it.
Oh, okay.
And then it suddenly pops up, and you're like, "Oh snap!" It's like this is happening now.
All right.
Like, time to see how he deals with this, and then it kind of goes forward. So I think it's another good.
Unknown?
I think so.
Sure.
Yeah,
you're right. It is unknown. I agree with that.
I literally don't know.
So. Where he's on a train and... Hold on.
Well, real quick, we're gonna branch off real quick. Did you see the where Liam Neeson was the air marshal movie? I forget what it's called.
Flight.
I don't know. Flight something maybe.
No.
He was an air marshal.
I remember.
I know what you're talking about.
He's like he's like a corrupt air marshal. And
no, he's an air marshal.
He's straight up
chilling.
The one where he has to land the plane or whatever.
Says she lost her kid or something.
No,
some guy texts him. He's like, "I'm gonna bring this plane down" or something.
Shit!
Yeah, and then he basically gets framed.
Yeah,
and we don't know if he's actually doing it or not. And then
I forget what it is.
I can talk about the plot, but it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Have you seen the trailer for his newest movie?
No.
It's
Taken 4.
No,
I thought it was
dog was taken.
This guy's just a bad parent. No, he's on a train and he's just this guy that takes the train every day. Huh?
The commuter.
The commuter. Yeah. He takes this train every day, and some weird psychologist lady comes up and starts asking him questions, and she says, "There's money on the train."
Yeah, like $75,000, I think.
Yeah, you can take it if you kill this guy or whatever.
Yeah, like it was like it was framed like some behavioral psychology test, but like take it way too far.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Like,
and then
that sounds really
would
cool.
Would you take the money and kill the guy without anybody knowing, or would you just leave?
Yeah, the trailer implies that he does, and that people are coming after him because of it. And so that's where all the action.
I would have liked it more if they just focused on the train.
Yeah.
The whole.
I think it is on the train.
But if people are following him, it could also be that he said no.
Yeah, like,
and that they don't want him to tell other people that they're trying to do the experiment.
Possible,
so there are a lot of different ways that
but it looks good.
Yeah, I feel like they made a decent trailer of that because a lot of trailers will give too much away.
Yeah,
that's true.
Does anyone think that Jackie Chan's new movie is just Taken?
I've never seen the trailer for it.
Wasn't it? It's called The Foreigner or something.
Yeah,
that's so like
trying to find who killed his daughter, and then
I just saw it.
It's just 50 different scenes of this guy that he's been talking to, seeming to do violent stuff. So everybody in the audience is like, "Is it not this guy?" So it's either gonna be that guy, and then the trailer just gave away the movie, or it isn't that guy because the trailer just focuses on him. But his daughter just gets killed.
Oh,
like this seems like a hyperbolized Taken with Jackie Chan.
I think it's a racist Taken.
I think Jackie Chan and Liam Neeson need to do one final movie together and then be done.
Can
you imagine if both of them were taken?
They get a divorce. Both their stepdaughters get kidnapped.
Gosh, that would be epic.
And it'd be a comedy because they don't care about.
If either of them ever hear this, please contact the other person.
So, anyways, back to Usual Suspects. One thing also, again, bringing back to the point about the use of action and kind of the fast-paced, no talking sort of shooting, explosions, whatever it is. I thought there was a really interesting give and take between the dialogue when it's necessary and then just when they need to kill people or blow shit up or whatever. So each scene, I think they and to lack of a better way of saying it, I think they sprinkled in the action and violence and stuff like that, where you saw people get killed and you saw people get beat up and shit like that. But I think it was very meaningful to the story. Mm-hmm. It's not just senseless violence. Whereas like you watch Mission Impossible or something, and then it's like, wow, Tom Cruise is beating up this guy because
he's running.
He's running and beating a guy up. Oh wait, he's doing that again.
Oh, slides somewhere.
Exactly. Exactly.
Pants are never torn. Slides everywhere. Pants not torn.
So I think it was great. Where you got the information you needed with the dialogue, and you got the to move the story along. And again, I think the actors did a really good job of doing that, and making you invested in the story and making you interested to see what goes next. And so when there's action and stuff like that, you're just like, okay, I'm into this. It's not just like, ugh, another action sequence. Like when, especially, one thing I noticed, and Blake, tell me what your opinion on this is. Every time there is an action sequence, you have like a couple minutes of setup where you kind of see what's going on.
I would say it's more suspenseful than anything. And I remember I took a film history class in college.
Oh, aren't you just fancy?
It was a fun class, but I remember reading or listening to Alfred Hitchcock do an interview and the Master of Suspense, and he said, let's say I have two people talking at a diner, and they talk for 5 minutes, and then a bomb goes off. Mm-hmm. That's an initial shock, but that doesn't do anything. Now let's say I showed the exact same scene, and then I cammed down on the camera and I showed them a bomb under them, and for the next 4 minutes they keep talking.
Oh, okay.
And so that's what I thought was genius about this. They showed us what was going to happen at the very beginning of the movie.
That's true.
It's just how we get there and when it's going to break off. That was the genius behind it.
Suspense is all about building anticipation.
Right.
Yeah. Right. But building it correctly. Yeah. You see so many shows nowadays that have the little very beginning action intense scene, and then it flashes to the 24 hours.
Yeah, 24 hours earlier. Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
No.
And then it just doesn't build up properly. I'm like, all right, well, I already know what's going on.
Yep. Yeah, there were I like that in this one because there was a lot of example, even just in smaller cases where you could see they were really good at building tension within a scene as well. Mm-hmm. Like there was just a particular thing they seem to be really good at across the whole board.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with that. I don't know. It's just because for one scene in particular, when they were actually going to mug the jeweler, I thought it could go either way. Genuinely was like, okay, look. These guys are gung-ho. They're obviously on to the next job because they're greedy. They want more money. And sure, they may have executed the first plan super easy. They had the 4 vans. They got the gems. They got the money. It was done and done. But with this scene, it was an open area. You kind of saw that everyone was coming in from a different direction. The guy had bigger bodyguards and stuff like that. So you're thinking, okay, what's going to happen? Is this going to, shit's going to hit the fan? Which it did. And, I think I would have been okay with either option.
Would you guys? That shit hit the van.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Shit. That's funny. That's funny.
I don't know. I feel like in the first job that they did, there was a bunch of setup. You heard the monologue of Verbal talking to the detective saying how you can pay these cops off, the tax cop.
That's true.
And it keeps building and building and building. And then the 4 vans come around. You had to have gotten a feeling when they started walking up to the guy, when Kevin Pollak and Benicio del Toro started walking up and talking about some girl in the bar or whatever.
Yeah.
It seems too easy for that scene. And so you knew something had to go wrong.
Right.
Because it seemed too easy.
Okay.
And so that's what I thought.
That's true. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
That's interesting.
I was thinking a similar thing.
Julian, you were going to say something?
I was thinking I keep thinking back to the scene in the couple scenes in the hospital where they're talking to the guy. They're with the guy, especially with the heart monitor, particularly.
Yeah,
with that whole intensity of the whole build. Because I feel like the fact that they play it, it helps kind of adds the frantic nature of the scene. But the fact that he didn't actually flatline, even though it was setting up it's like a heart attack or something.
Right.
Yeah. For one, that was different than the norm because normally that's what usually happens. So we were really disposed to think that was going to happen.
Okay.
But I think the fact that it didn't go over when cases like with the second heist, why that one did go down, the fact that you can't always tell how the tension arc is going to end helps further increase.
Yeah,
how aware you are of what's going to happen next.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that was a really insightful point. I don't know. I think overall, and I mean, I have no idea who the director was. Who was
Brian Singer.
Brian Singer. Do you know Blake, Mr. Movie Man?
I don't know any other Bryan Singer movies.
Oh my god! Blake the movie man doesn't know any other movies by Bryan Singer.
You can leave.
But I definitely to bounce off what you were saying, Julian. I think they definitely use those cues and they use those the visual effects and the sound. Real quick, I think the sound and the soundtrack and the score, I thought it was well done. I enjoyed it. It was
I agree completely.
So this guy Bryan Singer did X-Men Apocalypse, X-Men Days of Future Past, X-Men in 2000, X2, X-Men First Class.
What?
So nothing significant.
Wow. How do you go from Usual Suspects to like?
I don't know.
X-Men. Dumbing down the film, I guess.
I guess so.
He made his movie. Usual Suspects was his movie. He was proud of it.
That was about it.
Now Kevin Spacey needs to make a return in the X-Men movies.
Oh my god.
Director. Okay, let's go director.
Well, anyways.
He's going to be directing the Freddie Mercury biopic, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Ooh,
I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, I'm kind of sad that Sacha Baron Cohen isn't going to be Freddie Mercury anymore.
I'm sad about that.
He's not?
No, he's not.
I'm so sad. Have you ever seen, what's the guy on the USA show, the Mr. Robot?
Yeah,
He's going to be Freddie Mercury. But
I could see it.
Apparently Queen didn't want Sacha Baron Cohen to do it.
Yeah,
because he wouldn't take it seriously.
Yeah.
And so his quote was,
I guess that's
I'm
fair.
not going to take it seriously. This gay dude had midgets backstage with plates of cocaine on their heads. You think I'm not going to take his role seriously?
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, that's why he pulled
Freddie
out.
Mercury was a crazy motherfucker.
Mm-hmm. Directed Valkyrie. And
Valkyrie too?
That's about it.
What's this range? Usual Suspects, Valkyrie, and X-Men?
Jack the Giant Slayer.
I like Valkyrie.
Oh,
interesting. Wow, that's so weird.
A throwback, yeah.
Directed an episode of House as well.
Oh, wow, okay.
Huh.
Good for him.
That's suspense.
Well, anyways, real quick, and then we'll move on to the next point. Next point I had. We're almost finished. In terms of the points. I know JW, you have important legislative homework to do.
Yeah, it's more homework.
Gotta talk to the Secretary of Defense.
Yeah, right.
Right. How are the people? Good. Okay.
One thing. Tell me, guys, what you think about this. And in terms of,
I hate it.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, well, we got JW's opinion.
Establish that out the way.
One thing in terms of the score for a movie, I think when you have a really beautiful, well done score, like just I'm trying to think of a really good example. The first thing that comes to mind is like fucking just Tolkien and just Lord of the Rings. Just the score is really beautiful.
Fair.
But I think
any Hans Zimmer movie.
That's true. Mm-hmm. That I agree with that as well. It's just you're invested and it's very powerful and you kind of convinces you. But one other thing that I also equally respect is when it's a good score, but it kind of merges together. And so you're in the movie, you're entranced in the movie, and you're not, when you're in a scene, it's not like, oh wow, this is a really intense scene because the music is super intense. It parallels together and it kind of
combines.
Exactly.
It plays off the scene.
Exactly.
So
you're pulled in from the scene, and then the music only emphasizes it, and it's like now you're entrapped. So you walk through the door with the scene, and then the music closes the door and keeps you in. Where I think, and again, and no disrespect to any of those movies, I think it's like when you hear the music now. Oh, now it's time. Now something intense is going to happen.
It's almost insulting. Like when the music has to tell you what's going on.
Right. And I mean, it could be beautiful and, sounds really awesome, but then it's like the dun 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 or whatever. You're like, okay, action time.
Yeah. And it also depends on the movie too, because sometimes the music has to tell you because it's the only way to build. So with horror movies, for instance,
that's true.
Like the sudden sounds and then the sudden complete change in the entire music. If you watch some kind of joke videos online on YouTube, where they have scary scenes, but then they play over really happy music. Yeah. It kind of takes away the effect. But
sure, of course.
If they had shown that there was going to be a build anyways without the music, then it wouldn't be as impactful because the music kind of makes a lot of that, real. And then obviously the visual is an important part.
Right.
Obviously enough. So I think it depends on the genre. Aside from horror, I think that's applicable to everything else though. Mm-hmm. That if you have to use the music to show what's about to happen or how you're supposed to feel, you're probably not doing a good job with everything else.
Right.
Yeah, it uses emphasize, not to predict type thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like complementary, not supplementary.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go. Those are the words I was trying to look for, but I was just like, doors.
Doors.
Walking in.
An open door.
I don't know. I feel like my favorite movie scenes usually don't have music in them.
Okay.
And it's because
that's true.
The story and the dialogue and everything.
No Country for Old Men.
0 score except for one scene, and it was just an underlying bass.
Yeah.
The rest of the movie had zero. Yeah. Had zero.
I agree with that. That was really good. And but even then, you could kind of think technically there is no score, but that's the score. It's complete silence. It's obviously they chose to leave it. It's not like they forgot it.
Piece of paper.
It's like the movie comes out. Oh shit! We forgot to add a score. Oh damn it!
It's like how can we spin this? How can we spin this?
Antonio Antonio Banderas?
Banderas, yeah.
Banderas. Is that his name?
That's
Antonio Banderas.
No,
not in the movie.
Ben.
No, Javier Bardem.
There you go.
Oh gosh,
whatever. Antonio Harviodio.
My best supporting actor.
He was very scary. He was a scary man. I was like very scared of him.
Have you guys ever seen No Country for Old Men?
I have not.
It's also one of the ones I need to see.
Yeah. Trey Magnifique.
You'll find I haven't seen a lot of things.
It's a Coen Brothers movie. And
I don't know who those are.
The Coen Brothers make really good movies.
But it's off of the book No Country for Old Men by Cormac McCarthy, and it's oh my gosh,
it's good. We'll have to have it on a weekly. I don't know the next
figure it out.
The two other movies that I was wanting to move forward to real quick is obviously for next time if you guys are on, I want to do the It movie. The remake, obviously, reimagining, and then Whiplash.
Like
if we're gonna have to watch it, I'm probably gonna skip.
Whiplash?
Yeah, Whiplash.
Whiplash is
the drummer movie with the
J.K. Simmons.
Oh yeah.
Parker, that guy.
Yeah, I've seen some just isolated scenes from that movie.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a reason why he won Best Supporting Actor that year. J.K. Simmons did.
That was crazy.
He's terrifying. He's terrifying.
But yeah,
I mean, it's perfect for him.
Oh yeah,
it's perfect.
He was born to play that role.
Yeah.
But real quick, Julian, the It movie, it's not scary. There was only one scene that I was just like, oh, you startled me. And that was
it's more funny than anything.
I wouldn't say it's funny.
It's more just psychological horror, I guess.
It is a little psychologically fucky, but...
And they also took out...
they took out the sex scene?
With the girl.
Orgy.
With the little girl. Yeah. I mean, to be fair,
but they didn't have that in the original,
that they did that. Too. I mean, they didn't have it in the original either, but...
They implied it in the original.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that they implied it.
Yeah, that's why people talk about it.
There was a quote where Stephen King was just like, it's weird how they'll talk about a sex scene or whatever and how it's in the movie or not in the movie, but then they won't talk about like this fucked up clown who like kills kids and shit like that.
We see that every day.
We're so desensitized to that.
That is
like
very
the second that they bring in kids having sex with each other,
it's like, new. It's taboo.
Hey.
It's taboo. I mean, also, I don't think it's something that should be.
Yeah, it's illegal.
Like, it's something that's like a real issue that like people have. Where I would say that creepy clowns going around, aside from 2016,
sure,
like the creepy clowns in the gutter is different.
That's for next time. That's for next time. We can go in further in there. A couple more points. Just wanted to close off for this. So we talked about that. Okay. So Kevin Spacey. I can't get enough of Kevin Spacey. I love him. American Beauty, Usual Suspects, House of Cards, 9 Lives was a really good Kevin Spacey movie. I feel like he has a really wide range, where he can, he has the, the serious roles and stuff like that where he can be this menacing evildoer. Because didn't you mention he said in The Departed he was supposed to be Jack Nicholson's role,
right?
But yeah, so he can be this evil, menacing, like you want to hate this guy. I think we agreed that Jack Nicholson would do better, but again, he has that role. But then he also has these roles where he's this kind of
Beauty.
Yeah, exactly.
He's
just
the
this
guy you're rooting for.
Exactly. Kind of you take a step back and you're like, okay, well, what is he doing? What's his life? And you can definitely jive with him, and you can definitely get behind his character. So. I don't know. Have you guys...
who he lost to in 1995 for Best Actor Oscar?
Oh, who?
Nicolas Cage for Leaving Las Vegas.
I've never seen that.
Wow.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage.
Really?
Yeah, it's about this writer who his wife divorced him. His life's going to shit, so he goes to Las Vegas, hires a hooker to have sex with him while he drinks himself to death.
Wow. Okay. And that one Best Supporting Actor.
I think that's it's an L that he can take.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. It was a good movie.
Sure.
Yeah.
But anyways, Kevin Spacey movies. If you guys,
Call of Duty, I'm a big fan.
Yep,
that is very true. I mean, he was just pretty much Frank Underwood, but like in a video game. So I would definitely give him props for that.
I mean, I don't think he's an evil villain, like in the sense of like mad, crazy looking person, but he's evil in the sense that you don't want to mess with any part of him in the scene. I think that's what. Have
you seen Seven?
I have not seen Seven.
Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, where he plays the serial killer murderer that kills people based off the 7 deadly sins.
And I didn't see that movie.
Yeah, you remember Brad Pitt's going, "What's in the box?"
Oh yeah.
That's that movie where he is the most disgusting, diabolical person ever.
Damn, I have to see this movie now.
Yeah. I just don't see him like that. I see him as like a demented person, but that's the most I can see him.
But
I can't see him like just going off.
But more like meticulous sort of thing.
More meticulous, like the crazy, kind of creepy, like Hannibal Lecter kind of evil, not the Joker kind of evil.
Insane, yeah. I feel that. I don't know. For me, with Kevin Spacey, I kind of compare him onto the same level as like Robin Williams in terms of like the range that he can do. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
that's a good thing for an actor.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because he was in Horrible Bosses, Horrible Bosses 2.
So funny.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Who? Robin Williams or Kevin Spacey?
No, Kevin Spacey.
I haven't seen it.
I didn't know he was in that.
Oh, he's such
it's
a dick
the funnier side.
movie.
Yeah, I mean
it's funny.
Yeah.
All right.
It's the funnier side of him.
Right.
Like, he's not supposed to be funny in it, but it's like funny
some parts
in the whole comedy of it. Yeah.
Sure. Well, yeah, no, then that even emphasizes the point that I was trying to make. But I don't know. I think going forward, even to now, even in 2017, when he's just an old fart now, but a very good-looking old fart. Anytime I see Kevin Spacey on the billboard, I'm going to see the movie. I think
that's
for me. I think it's just like, and other people have those actors as well, but Kevin Spacey and Adam Sandler also, because I love Adam Sandler. I'm gonna watch any Adam Sandler
of acting,
dude.
Adam Sandler
fucking
and
love
Kevin
Adam
Spacey.
Dude, I'll go see Adam Sandler anytime, any day. But that's just me. So I don't know. Do you guys have actors that are your must always have to? Doesn't give a shit what it is.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Okay.
Anything he's in, I'm going to see. DiCaprio.
True.
Just because it's
true.
Fair.
I don't think there's a better actor working today. Tom Hanks for a while.
Okay. Yeah. I agree with Tom Hanks.
I couldn't stop watching him. Jeff Bridges also.
God damn, how many fucking actors?
And Tom Hardy, and that's it.
Golly,
okay,
Blake.
Tom Hardy. I would agree with Tom Hardy. I definitely on board with Tom Hardy because he's killing it. He's killing it in everything,
and he hasn't been in a bad movie. I can't.
And I think that's because he's in it. Honestly,
he makes the movie.
I mean, I think that if the Mad Max remake was with somebody else, I really don't think it would have been as good. I think he made the part Bane. Oh my gosh,
that's true.
Perfect Bane.
That's true.
Perfect Bane.
Perfect.
What?
He was Bane.
Yeah, he was Bane.
Didn't he gain like a bajillion pounds?
Yeah. So what happened was he had to lose weight for forgot which role it was, and then he had to gain it back for a movie called Warrior. Then he had to, where he's a UFC fighter. Then he had to lose it again, and then he had to gain like 85 pounds to play Bane.
Yeah, and then he's gonna play Venom too.
Yep.
Is he really gonna play Venom?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
yeah. So Tom Hardy's on my list.
Well, what else? You can't just say Tom Hardy.
I think Colin Firth.
Okay.
So from King's Speech.
Sure.
I think him and Kingsman too.
He's awesome.
So I guess he's just in a lot of King's movie. I haven't seen the second one yet.
I saw it recently. It was
really
I just don't have a lot of time. Yeah, but I'm so excited to see it because he seems like he's incredible in it.
Yeah. Anything he does, it's usually gold.
Oh yeah, I would say maybe not Matt Damon. I like Matt Damon as an actor because I feel like he's got this quirkiness to him. Ever since Ocean's 11.
Except when we bought a zoo.
I mean, everyone's got their duds. Everyone's got their duds. That was not the highlight of his career by any means.
I don't know if it's just me. I really like early Matt Damon. I mean, not to say
is he good. Early Matt Damon's good
up until The Bourne Identity.
Yeah, I wouldn't say up. Like once he finished that, I think the movies after that are not necessarily. I mean, they're good. I think when I'm like, ooh, Matt Damon, that's who I think. When I think Matt Damon, I think The Bourne Identity, Supremacy, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, that's my Matt
He's pretty versatile in my mind.
I still think The Martian.
I haven't seen it.
The Martian was great.
On The Martian.
The Martian was great.
I was like, okay, this dude.
That's true.
He's got it.
No, you know what threw me off recently?
I'm actually watched that one again.
It's good.
It was good.
I read maybe 6 or 7 chapters into the book, and I haven't. I was planning on finishing it before I watched the movie, but I just kind of fell out of it. But what turned me off to current Matt Damon was in Interstellar. He was that dickhole, and I was just like, oh, come on, man. Why?
I'm not supposed to hate Matt.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not supposed to not like you.
Yeah,
like
I was just like, what are you doing here?
Where's Goodwill Hunting, Matt Damon? Where I
thought you were on Mars. What are you doing here?
Yeah, exactly.
It was right after Martian too. It was just like,
was like, really
confusing.
Yeah. I'm gonna give honorable mention to Mark Ruffalo.
Oh yeah,
Mark Ruffalo is good. I like Mark.
He's good. Him and now you see me.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah,
I didn't see this.
On point.
That's what got me to like Mark Ruffalo.
On point.
I think if I didn't see that movie, I wouldn't have liked him as much as the Hulk.
That's also one of my favorite movies.
I
guess not the trilogy, but what's it? If
the
it's
Avengers,
if it's
the duo,
no,
the
yeah, I guess the two.
Well, I mean, there's gonna be they're gonna do another one, right?
Now You See Me 3.
Oh no! Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about the Avengers.
No, I'm talking about Now You See Me. No,
sorry, okay.
Oh no, I definitely understand that.
Oh, I'm sure they'll do another Now You See Me.
Him and Ragnarok's supposed to be good too.
Yeah.
So.
He's just a good actor.
I forgot about Ragnarok.
Yeah.
So what about?
He's definitely not an action person, but he's just there. You go.
Yeah, he's there.
What about you, Julian? Do you have any go-to actors
or actresses?
In my experience, a lot of them have been more of like putting a famous face on just to try and make a bad movie not seem as bad.
Oh, okay.
But like
that one thing they splurge money on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, there was one I think Blake mentioned it, but I don't remember.
Who's in it?
I don't know.
Huh?
Who's in it?
No, like an actor you mentioned.
Jeff Bridges, Tom Hanks, DiCaprio,
maybe DiCaprio.
All right, I feel that. So we'll close it off. I've got one more point, and that is the use of language in terms of the cursing to not cursing to whatever it is. There are some movies where I think that they we're back to The Usual Suspects, by the way. Cool. Bringing it back to what the original point of the thing was about. So I think in some movies they kind of just overuse the fuck word a lot, and it's just kind of like, okay, we get it. You're this crazy, insane guy who just says fuck a lot. And I think that a lot of the kind of more mature, adult, sexy content in terms of how they talk and stuff like that, I think that can get overplayed. I think it can get overused. And who would have guessed? I thought they did it really well in The Usual Suspects. I think I think their use of just other words other than like fuck, shit, damn, like cocksucker. Like, I mean, what movie is going to say cocksucker?
That movie.
It's a fun word.
Yeah, I mean, it is a very fun word. So,
I also think it's a cultural thing too.
Yeah,
so right now, I think that wouldn't mean as much.
Oh, really?
Yeah, probably back
because
in
it was
the
like
90s.
90. Yeah, it was like 95.
I can imagine that was probably pretty
true.
big.
Yeah,
It's probably
popular.
the equivalent to C word that we use now.
Well, like Goodfellas, I remember Joe Pesci dropping a few cocksuckers in that too.
That's true.
Yeah, and I mean, they don't say it anymore.
Right.
But it's not, I think it's definitely like a cultural phrase,
Yeah.
like a diss. Nowadays, it'd be like, all right. Like,
Well, then maybe I'm just like nostalgic for it.
I mean, a big comeback nowadays, like in movies. If you're
really,
yeah,
I haven't seen a movie that dropped
Game of Thrones.
Oh well, Game of Thrones is like HBO.
I know.
No,
I'm saying, but even in movies, that word is still. It's now the word to use because they're trying to brink it out of the.
Because everybody says fuck already, and now we're just like trying to push something else.
Put on,
I don't know. I think when they were cursing, and one other thing that a lot of movies do poorly that I think The Usual Suspects did well was when they say fuck, like you felt the heaviness of it. Sure, we might be at this point desensitized to that type of extreme language, but like even if you weren't like, oh, he said the fuck word, oh. But like the passion and kind of that, exactly, the timing,
the whole delivery of it.
Exactly, the delivery of it. It was definitely a bridge that they used, and just fuck, put it that extra mile. So, and I think we've talked about this a couple times, Blake, in terms of the comedian table talk or something, round table, Louis C.K.,
Chris Rock, Ricky Gervais, and Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah, exactly. Where they're telling jokes, and it's like, okay, well,
Jerry Seinfeld is completely clean.
Exactly.
Louis. Somebody told Louis that saying fuck is like a cheap joke, and Louis is like, "Will you go out there and say fuck and get a laugh?"
Exactly. And so and there's some jokes that if you deliver it and you don't have a curse word versus when you do have a curse word, it'll get that extra oomph. So I think you definitely see it. It's very prevalent in The Usual Suspects where if a cop is trying to interrogate, I forget what specifically he said or something like that, but when the cops were interrogating the guys at the very beginning and they were each that single spotlight, it was just like this intense moment where sure, these guys are playing it off cool and they know what's up or whatever, but these cops like seem super serious. Where I think cops now in movies, personally to me, I don't give a shit about the cops in the movies. It's just like, oh yeah, you don't seem like that intense. You're just kind of like a throwaway character. Yeah. Sure, again, no disrespect to cops, but it's just you're not afraid of cops in movies anymore. They're just kind of like, this pawn that you're like, okay, the person,
what's going to happen next?
Exactly, like exactly. And so, but and so in this movie, sure, you can kind of get the. And I think that's how they played it, where because these guys were calm, cool, and collected, you're like, okay, everything's fine.
The cop got pissed and said, "Fuck," it was
exactly
more dramatic because the guys just stood there and just
exactly.
Off the chest.
Whereas I think now, it's not even. It doesn't matter what the cops say in movies nowadays. Again, my personal opinion. It doesn't matter what they say. You know that the person's gonna get past it, whatever. Right. So
unless the cop is like
that's
the
true.
If
he's
main character,
like
yeah.
Wolf of Wall Street, when the cop is, when they're actually trying to outrun the SEC.
Right.
And that's another thing about the Wolf of Wall Street. The word "fuck" was overused.
Oh yeah,
so much.
Oh
and
yeah,
it lost its complete
crazy
feel.
amounts.
It lost its feel. It broke. Goodfellas had the record for most fucks in a movie.
Yeah,
by Martin Scorsese, and then here comes Wolf of Wall Street and
destroyed it.
Right.
And it became. I personally don't like the Wolf of Wall Street.
Like as a movie overall.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
The point, whenever I watch a movie like that, I want to see the lesson that's learned from it.
But there is no lesson learned.
Yeah.
It's just,
I didn't see a lesson. He got 2 years worth of jail time after ratting out everybody.
Yeah.
And now he's around public speaker and he's still doing well for himself.
Sell me this pen.
Yeah. I was like that. Okay. This was a movie about excess and that's it, for the sake of excess to me.
Well, yeah. I think it was, I think
showed how exhausting it was, but that's about all I saw.
Go ahead.
It also came out, I think, a relatively close amount of time to The Great Gatsby. So whenever I saw a commercial about it, even after both movies had come out, I kept thinking of it as Great Gatsby.
That's true.
Just an R-rated version, because that was also excess, but that was excess for a purpose.
Exactly.
Because that was excess of illustrating the book in a light that it was supposed to be in, compared to Wolf of Wall Street, that was excessive for the purpose of, Wolf of Wall Street, like the Wall Street idea that they are excessive, their lifestyle is excessive. That's the whole idea.
And I think like we knew that going into it. We knew what this movie was going to be.
You knew that, but I think that was partially the point. I don't want to necessarily talk about this for too long, but so I think the point was, yes, we knew that people on Wall Street have millions of dollars and they're living these extravagant lifestyles, but I think to paint like a hyper realistic picture of what these people are doing, they're like, obviously it's some hyperbole. I don't think they're throwing midgets onto like boards or whatever trying to.
You said that actually happened.
Oh really? Okay, well then that's fine.
Jeez.
But still exactly. And so I think seeing the excess and seeing that's kind of like, oh shit, like snapped in our brain. This may or may not actually be happening. And I think that was the point. It was
more of an educational opportunity,
like a matter of spectacle. I think
exactly what
Wall
Julian
Street's
said.
really doing.
I wouldn't say it's educational necessarily, but it's like, oh shit, the people, your brokers who are handling your thousands of dollars are handling other people's thousands of dollars, and you stack up all sorts of fees and whatever their cut is for commission. They're making millions of dollars off of this. So what are they going to do? They're going to do coke and hire hookers and do whatever the fuck they want because they had no regulations to an extent, but. I don't know. I thought that was the point, and that's why I kind of enjoyed it because it was just like, oh wow,
I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
there were some very
a few ways to go about it.
But at the end, when he's there doing a seminar and the movie cuts to black, I'm like,
well, he got away. That was it. He was a conniving, silver-tongued bastard, and he got away.
That got away scot-free.
Exactly.
Where is Scott?
I'm sorry,
Scott. Where is this guy, Scott? The start of this whole phrase, scot-free.
I don't know, man.
Fact check.
I'm wondering, is Scott less expensive than
maybe
Yuval?
Maybe I don't know.
Yuval, is there a Yuval free? Maybe a Yuval discount, but Scott is free.
Scott is free.
Completely.
That makes sense.
Anyway, usual suspects.
Yeah, back to usual suspects. So, I don't know. We covered kind of the highlights of what I wanted to talk about. I enjoyed kind of comparing it and bringing in other movies and stuff like that. And so, I don't know. Any closing remarks? Overall thoughts, opinions?
People should watch it.
Okay,
I think it's worth watching.
Yeah,
all right,
it's worth watching, having the experience.
Okay, so everyone would say it's a good watch,
especially if you're a House of Cards fan.
That's
very
true.
To see the earlier career of Kevin Spacey.
That's very true. It's
obviously other actors are in it.
Documentary.
Yeah.
What were the actors' names, JW?
There was Chris Grayson from the Avengers. I think that's his name.
Yeah, I think he was the only one on the cast I think I recognized.
The side doctor. Yeah.
There you go. You got it. But yeah, so I appreciate everyone being on. I love this movie. I'll probably watch it again sometime in the near future. And so hopefully this was entertaining to some people. Hopefully they weren't just like, man, these guys are idiots. The Usual Suspects sucked, and what the fuck are they trying to defend such a sucky movie? Okay. Last opinion. This is kind of a general consensus on movies in general. So I think here, let me look this up real quick. Or unless Blake, do you know what the Rotten Tomatoes score of The Usual Suspects is?
It's got to be up in the 90s.
Probably
88%.
88. Okay,
that's close.
So, do you guys generally tend to side with the critics' scores of movies? If so, examples of when you didn't agree.
I don't trust Rotten Tomatoes.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
It just...
Well, no,
did you get burned at one time and then you were like,
no,
this movie said it was a 90%, but the SpongeBob movie sucked and it was 30% actually.
No, like I give a shit about
I love the SpongeBob movie, by the way.
Some other people.
Some prissy movie critics say.
Sure.
I trust IMDb.
Really?
Because that's not critics. Those are...
I thought like Rotten Tomato also had a community.
Yeah, they do.
It's not the score that they show initially, but if you look at it, they'll show you.
Yeah, like whenever you look it up,
percent liked,
okay,
and a tomato score.
Yeah, they'll show the critic score whenever you're looking it up at first glance.
IMDb, people that go on there will rate movies.
Will rate it on
movie critics because there's over 500,000.
It's like a Yelp,
right? And so that's where I trust movies. I don't trust Rotten Tomatoes because they'll give movies score. They're like hipsters. Yeah, that's how I look at Rotten Tomatoes. Like movies made in 1928 are like, you just don't get it, man. Of course, it's a 100%. Like, the Great Train Robbery in 1912 was so much better than The Godfather, Shawshank, Saving Private Ryan, blah blah blah. Blah. I don't buy it.
That's true. I have to agree. They give the emoji movie like a 3%.
What?
Something like that, probably. But obviously it was like 92%. Like it was really good.
I don't know. Like let's look at the top 10 movies on Rotten Tomatoes list.
All right,
I'll pull it up.
Like I think like the big difference is so like with critics are like more analyzing it as like a film, I guess you could say, versus a movie crowd,
right? And
to speak, I guess.
Yeah, I think when you get to that point where you're looking at a movie as like this. Like, look, you go to a movie to have fun.
Sure.
And so when
there's some people. Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
So there's some people. Yes, you want to have a good time, and I think that's a certain dynamic for movies where you're like, okay, we're gonna have a good time. You know, get a beer, whatever, have popcorn, it'll be great. But then there's some movies where the fucking Hateful Eight is like, this is intense. I need to pay attention to what's going on. This is like I'm fully invested, so you can't go for a fun time.
Absolutely.
So,
but I'm saying if you look at movies, have you ever seen the movie Birdman?
No, that's with Michael Keaton, right?
Right.
Yeah.
They touch on that perfectly about how critics are just prissy dicks. That
that was commentary on it.
Yeah, because it's about this guy that played a former superhero. Ironic, it's Michael Keaton.
Sure.
And he's trying to bring this.
Wait, what's ironic about that?
Because it's appropriate, I guess. Sorry.
Well, did Michael Keaton ever play?
Michael Keaton was Batman.
Yeah,
was he?
He was.
Okay.
And then he's playing this character that was Birdman, this big comic book hero, and he's trying to be deeper onto Broadway and be an actual deep actor.
Oh, but they only see him
as slaying him because he doesn't belong on Broadway. He's not one of us. So there's a scene where he's at a bar and he's just giving this one critic who she said, I'm going to tank your show, even if it's good or not.
Wow.
And so he just goes off on her.
Wow.
And, here are top 10 movies according to Rotten Tomatoes.
And I have the top 10 movies according to IMDb, so let's see how they...
Perfect.
Okay.
Right, number one...
Hold on, bro. We'll make a game out of this. All right, so Julian, JW, as a cohesive, coagulative blob, tell us what you think number one is.
Can we have, 3 options and then pick from those 3?
No.
What time range is
the number one?
Number one movie
of all time.
No time range.
Jeez. Well, I know that Shawshank Redemption's in the top 10.
You got 5 seconds.
I'm just going to say Shawshank, because I don't know enough classic movies to say if it's number one.
I'm in the same boat, so I'm just going to say what he said.
All right, Shawshank.
I have no idea.
What's number one on Rotten Tomatoes?
Wizard of Oz.
Wow.
The new one, or
No, 1939.
I can see that, the OG. Was it the color remaster?
The Godfather is number one on
the color remaster happened later.
Citizen Kane, which I understand.
Number 2 is Shawshank Redemption.
Okay,
number 3
that's
is
close.
Anybody ever see The Third Man?
I have never heard of that.
No.
1949. Wow, okay. Godfather Part 2.
Okay, number 4, Get Out in 2017.
So I have a lot to say about that movie. I do have a lot to say about that movie.
Better than the Shawshanks and Godfather.
Okay, well, what about number 4, Inception?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Really?
I think
I
Inception
fell asleep
is not top
twice
10.
during that movie.
I think best it's top. It's like number 10, but it's not top 10.
It's not 4.
It's not
I don't think
deep.
Inception is 4.
It's not
I loved
deep. It's
Inception.
literally deep, but it's such an
You're
easy
telling me
movie to
Inception
follow.
number 4 is better than Fight Club number 5?
That's not for me to say.
Ooh.
I'm saying these movies
That's
are voted
tough.
on by us.
Well, the general
I
populace
also
is
think
stupid.
I think that Inception is high up, and this could be a complete claim with no base at all. Just be me talking out loud. I think it's high up because people debated the ending of the movie and then gave it a good rating and put it on IMDb.
That's true.
I
If you
thought
have
it
one of
was
those loose endings,
I thought it was an original masterpiece.
yeah.
It was wonderful.
No, it was
Yeah,
it was
well,
original.
did you know that
it wasn't
it
like
copied
any other
from 1974 Brain Man?
No, I
There's a
didn't.
movie called Brain Man, and
But I mean, there's a guy that did his PhD thesis on the ending of the movie.
Are you
that
serious?
last 3 or 4 seconds. There was
Wow.
a guy that did.
I
Maybe it
wonder
might
if
not
that
have been the
guy's working right
dissertation,
now.
That's
but
true.
regardless, somebody decided to do that.
That's
Sure,
true.
that guy,
So-
that guy's done.
So
I like
what's
to see
number
where
5?
he is
Number
or
5,
she
Mad
is.
Max Fury Road, 2015.
Yeah,
That's,
really?
Number
Number 5? I think that's
Uh.
like a solid 80%. I don't think it's top 10 worthy.
I
Like,
could
it's a
definitely
solid
see-
movie.
I can see 85, high 80s,
Exactly.
not 100%.
I agree.
But
All
then
right.
again, it was a good remastering.
It was
a
a good-
like
absolutely.
well done remake
That's
of the
true.
movies. That's
Sure.
why it might be high.
All right, what's number 6 for you?
The Cabinet of Dr. Galit.
I have
No
what
idea.
that is.
No idea.
1920.
I'm sorry for
Wow,
all the people
okay.
that are still alive from 1920.
Yep.
I
The
did
Dark
not know
Knight
that.
is number 6 on IMDb.
Okay,
which makes
fair,
sense.
fair.
All right.
Number 7, All About Eve, 1950.
I don't know what that
I
is.
just feel like so many of these movies we don't know.
Okay.
and I
You're
feel
right.
bad for not
You're
knowing
right.
them.
One-
I feel bad for not knowing them.
I agree with this one, even if it is quote unquote hipstery. Number 7 for me is 12 Angry Men. There's
12 Angry Men is amazing.
It's a great movie.
Incredible movie.
It is a
I
great
could
movie.
easily see top 10.
That's
Mhm.
true.
Very easily.
Right.
Number 8, Inside Out.
All right.
Inside
well,
Out's the Pixar one.
Mm-hmm.
it was.
Top 10?
I haven't seen
I
it.
think.
I think Pixar gets
maybe
a rap
not
though
top
because
10.
like
I would say that was one of their best movies, though.
I agree.
Yeah, it was
Easily
Top
one of their
10
best.
movies of all time?
Probably not.
I think Pixar gets a pass sometimes just because I think there hasn't unless like you kind of the offshoot kind of shit one, but for the most part I think we can all agree that Pixar generally gets 90% or above on their movies.
I think they get 80 and above mostly.
Sure,
'Cause it's
I will
all
say
life
80.
stuff.
They
It's
get, like,
all
yeah,
applicable,
it's
like real life concepts.
They have huge themes.
It's like,
like,
a really good
uh,
emotional connection. On
Zootopia was all about like.
oh, I love
race-
Zootopia.
yeah, like-
That was
I
a good
mean,
one.
it was prejudice.
So no,
Yeah.
that was like
was
the
that Disney?
that was the other
Are
Disney
you sure?
studio.
Are you sure?
It was not Pixar.
Oh.
You're right.
Or
That's
was
my
it
mistake.
Eliminate?
Well, okay, we'll just
That's
say
my mistake.
Disney / Pixar.
Yeah,
I
both-
think
yeah,
both
the-
studios.
Both of them
Yeah, both.
get high
Yeah,
up.
like feel like a lot of Pixar people have. There's been a lot of
Because they're all
blending.
messages.
That's true.
They're
On the
all
production
real
side.
messages that are very clear.
So you said number 8 for you.
Inside Out. Go ahead.
All right, number 8 for me is Lord of the Rings: Fellowship of the Ring. I think that's wrong. I think the Two Towers was a way better
Okay,
film.
I guarantee it's within the next 10.
But we're only going to do top 10. So.
Okay. I'm just
All right.
saying. Number 9, Metropolis in 1927.
Wow. Okay.
So I just yeah.
I got the Matrix over here on number 9 for me.
Okay.
Makes sense. And number
Okay.
10,
Yeah.
The Godfather.
Really?
The Godfather is below.
Wow, that's-
Inside Out.
That's awesome.
And Blake's
Um,
list was IMDb. Or?
No,
No,
mine
that was
Rotten
Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh.
See,
Ooh!
this is what the critics
I think-
Ooh!
say.
I think.
Number 10.
7 with
There you
Kevin
go.
Spacey.
There you go.
All right.
Okay, there you go.
All right. I guess I have to agree with IMDb. They did do a little better on the top 10 film.
Yeah,
Because
at
that's
least from our perspective.
culturally and as a society,
That's true.
that's how we view the greatest movies of all
yeah,
time.
but I'm
But-
sure if you go watch those 1927 movies or whatever,
They're probably
sure
still
they're
good.
great in
I'm
their
sure
time.
they're good.
Well,
but are they?
I think
feel
it's,
like a lot-
it's tough to answer that question because you have to think about it relative to the time, and then you have to subjectively baseline it to everything. So you have to knock down the movies we make now to the peg of 1920s.
That's
and
true.
Then
I don't think you should do that.
debate
Like a lot
them.
of
But
times-
it's tough
I
because
don't think you should do that.
it's then.
so you're
it's
saying
then
movies should be
that-
outdated?
No.
So everything from
I'm saying you can definitely take stuff from. I'm sure if I saw Metropolis, I could
Yeah.
I could see the beauty in that.
Yeah.
But we have to realize that with new technology and with better or more originality comes better movies. That just seems obvious.
But I think
to me.
that then takes out, all the 70s, 60s movies where the transitions were really long. I think it even takes out, early 2000s movies that compete on CGI levels with everybody else. Look at the old Hulk movie compared to the Avengers. Look at Iron Man 2008 compared to the Avengers now. It's just inherently assuming that Iron Man's the worst movie of all of them then. because it was made.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I think there are movies that were made in the 60s and 70s that I consider one of the best, my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Rocky.
We can keep because they didn't need the high tech. No, it was all plot based.
Right. When you have an original script, and if you use technology to your advantage, and you have a movie that has to be good, I think that speaks more than a movie that was made in 1927 because, hey, it's a movie. No one ever sees these.
Yeah, it's a tough cultural thing. I think Get Out is a good movie, but I don't think it scores 100% for that long. I went to see it, and just from a plot perspective, it rushed so quickly in the last 20 minutes. It was incredible. I was like, this is an incredible movie, and then it rushed. I was like, oh. There were so many cool things. If you look up, 25 little details that all point to, segregation-based things, oppression-based things in modern society, great. Incredibly creative, but then just, from a plot perspective, just rushes everything at the end. And I kind of felt like that ruined it. Everything was perfect for me up until maybe last 20, 25 minutes.
All right.
There's some movies I think that can mesh a political message well. And then there are some where I feel like that political message is being too forthcoming. And it kind of shuts off some viewers.
True.
So one that did it really well would be the Purge Anarchy Edition.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean Get Out still did a good job.
All right.
I think so. I think Zootopia killed it low key.
Oh yeah.
I know it's an animated movie, but it literally hits spot on the idea of discriminating against the population.
Of course.
Based off of circumstances they couldn't control.
Yeah, they did a good job. I saw a lot of behind the scenes documentary type stuff over Zootopia, and how the conscious choice to use animals instead of people to kind of separate out so you'll be able to lead people in, even the bigger the ones,
right?
And then kind of force them to kind of be left with this realization that they might be wrong about things.
Yeah, that makes sense. So to bring it back to The Usual Suspects, well, we're looking on the IMDb list. So if I said top 50 movies, where would you place Usual Suspects?
Of all time, I would. I'm sorry, but I'd probably say mid-40s.
Okay.
I think there are so many movies out there in the combination of those two top 10 lists, along with other movies that just kill the game. This movie is great, but I think there are a lot of movies similar to it in the style of how it was all created and how things come together at the end that beat it out.
Respectable. Julian?
I don't feel like I have enough information to make an accurate judgment.
Make a guess.
I'll go with his then.
I don't know. I mean,
maybe 30s. I don't know.
Have faith. Have faith, Blake. That's my only hint. Have faith.
So it's higher. That's okay. I mean, I'm not a huge movie savant. 23 is fair.
27.
Oddly specific.
Oh my god! It was 26.
Oh, okay.
You were so close, Blake. That was really close.
I could see 26. I could see it argued for 26.
Yeah.
Maybe I just don't. Maybe I'm just assuming there are a lot of other great movies out there.
And actually, there's no other great movies out there.
We've created all these terrible movies.
We've talked about the great movies. That's it. That's the only great movies out there.
Every movie we said today was a great movie. Everything else, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jurassic Park. I'm sorry, Toy Story. You didn't make the cut.
It's interesting. I don't know. This is on IMDb, but I guess this is a different list. But they have different movies on the top because Pulp Fiction is in the top 10 for this list.
Is it top 10 for a time period or recent?
That's true.
I don't know. This is
top rated.
I honestly think
it's going by rating.
I think it's more fair to go by decade
because this list does Shawshank, Godfather, Godfather Part 2, The Dark Knight, 12 Angry Men, Schindler's List, Pulp Fiction, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, which again I agree is better than The Fellowship, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and then The Fight Club.
Right, that is
IMDb quite a list. That is quite a list.
Like me that after they go see a movie,
I would say that list is very, very good.
Right,
12 Angry Men,
for sure.
Kills it. Schindler's List. I wasn't even thinking about that for whatever. Really Schindler's List was very good.
I never want to watch it again.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
It's one of those things. You can't taint
that's
experience.
A horrible mindset. Blake, I love you, but you know,
it was so complete that you don't need to watch it again.
No, my thing is it's so great and powerful and realistic.
I'm gonna cut you off.
That it's disturbing to want to watch again.
Why?
Because I get disturbed by it. And
isn't that the whole point of movies is to be disturbed?
That's the point of that movie.
The content of this one.
That's true.
And accomplished it so brilliantly.
Like Boy in the Striped Pajamas.
Yeah,
that movie. It's not a movie that you want to watch again because you know the ending is so terrible. Sorry, spoilers list. It's been out for forever.
Spoilers list.
But it's one of those movies that once you watch it, it's like, okay, I've had this experience,
and
that's true,
and I don't need to have it again
because it was so powerful the first time.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry if I.
No, I'm just fucking.
It's movies. So.
All right. So again, I thought we were closing it, but we continued on. But that's all right. That's kind of the point of this podcast. It's been like 7 hours since we've been talking. So
nice.
Yeah, it's like 4 a.m. right now. Anyways,
casino, no lights.
Now, for real, last question. This is just going to be kind of on the same panel, the lightning round. Yes, no, no explanation, and then we're going to end the podcast.
Sure.
Would you watch Usual Suspects again on a hot date?
Yes.
Julian?
No, I've never been on a date.
Blake?
Yeah.
And yes for me. And that is the end of our show. Julian, we're going to get you a date. Don't worry about that in 1 second. And we appreciate everyone. And I guess we'll upload this whenever the schedule is. I don't know. I have the schedule of like doing the regular podcast, but now that we're going to do more podcasts, I don't know when we're going to like add this. But anyways, anyone closing remarks? Say you love you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Not to you.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
Just to the other two guys.
Rest in peace to Tom
Blake and
Petty.
Julian.
Well,
hey,
yo, he's not dead yet.
He hasn't passed away yet.
Spoiler alert, he's not dead
know.
yet.
Yeah,
yeah.
guys.
All right. Peace out, everybody. Hey, everybody. That marks the end of the show. I really hope that you enjoyed today's episode. I put a lot of work into it, sort of, maybe, depending on what episode it was. But anyways, I just want to give another shout out to Haven Cottage Investments. People, if you're looking to buy, if you're looking to sell, if you're looking for property, any type of thing that involves dealing with financial people / marketers / realtors / whatever, you name it, you definitely need to get in contact with Haven Cottage Investments. All right. Sabrina Parker is a financial guru. She knows the ins and outs of the whole system. Just give her a call, give her an email, and definitely mention this podcast. If you do, you get half off the commission rate. And half off the commission rate definitely means more money in your pocket. So, again, give her a call, give her an email, shout her out, talk about Haven Cottage Investments with her. It's a great opportunity. Again, everything you need to know about getting in touch with her is all in the description below. Really appreciate everything you guys do for me, and appreciate the listeners. Hope you guys have a fantastic day, night, evening, afternoon, sleepy time, morning time, make out time, all the good times. Bye-bye now.